So again, Dr. Katrina Ferguson, incredible lady, author, speaker, trainer, mother, Nana. It was kind of like Nadia. Nadia's not, I'm not a grandmother, I'm a glam mother, right? We get these different titles. But anyway, just incredible. As a matter of fact, many of you know about the most recent book, Worth of a Woman, or Woman's Worth, where several of us were contributing authors, and literally within 2 hours, #1 bestseller in a couple of categories, and literally in a day or two in 12 different categories, ranking just incredible. In network marketing, real estate, tax, I mean, you name it, she's kind of, when you do the personality test, she tests out perfect, and each one of those is like a perfect square. So anyway, so Dr. Katrina Ferguson, thank you. You've been incredible, global ambassador, and just empowering people and producing powerful folks like Dr. Sonia Ham, Dr. Shirley Ferguson, and others on the team. So welcome, and we're ready to learn and then earn or save more of what we have. God bless you. Take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Stan. I definitely appreciate being back on the call. I was sitting here as I was listening earlier, just realizing there's some people I still need to reach out to. So I'm over here with, freshening up that list. I don't know. After 20-some years in the industry, I still work from a list. So I guess that's a little context clue in terms of how it is that you can create more success. So again, this is Dr. Katrina Ferguson, and I'm super excited. It's Tax Tuesday. So I have the opportunity to continue our conversation around being able to use the current tax laws and the tax system to build your business, one, in terms of helping to recruit people, but also so that you can create more income for yourself, because we know it's what you keep that counts. So it's like if you make a lot of money, but then you end up giving a lot of money back to Uncle Sam, then have you actually even really made a lot of money? And it's ironic because in my prayer time this morning, I was actually reading in the Bible in Matthew chapter 17 when Jesus and his disciples were going to Capernaum. You guys know I just got back from Jerusalem. And so we were able to see the tree where the tax collector, where Zacchaeus was sitting, waiting for Jesus to come and pass by. And Jesus went to Zacchaeus' home and actually had dinner. And everybody was like, well, why would you hang out with the tax collector? Why would you go to his house? Everybody didn't like the tax collector, very much like we don't like the tax collector today. But in this story, the disciple had run into the disciple ran into a tax collector, and they said, well, does your teacher pay the temple tax? And Peter said, yeah, of course he does. And then he ran back to Jesus and said, hey, we pay this tax, don't we? And he said, well, what do you think? And Jesus actually said, and I'm reading from the NIV version, he says, from whom do the kings of the earth collect duty and taxes? From their own children or from others? From others, Peter answered. Then the children are exempt, Jesus said to him. But so that we may not cause offense, go to the lake and throw out your line. Take the first fish you catch, open its mouth, and you will find a 4-drachma coin. Take it and give it to them for my tax and yours. So we know as kingdom citizens that we have to pay our taxes, right? But we don't have to pay any more than we are required. He didn't say take the tax and an offering. He said pay the tax, right? That's what we do. We pay the tax. And I always have, now this is Katrina. This is not Bible. This isn't, me going in and figuring out what the word means behind the word or trying to discern anything. But I was like, well, Jesus went and had dinner, hung out at Zacchaeus' house. Well, why would he do that? And I kind of liken it to the time that I spent with the IRS auditors. Because how else would you understand the system except that you sit with the people who have been trained to administer the system? And then when you understand the system, you can go and you can teach others how to maximize the system for kingdom benefit. And that's what we're doing here. So some would say, why is it every Tuesday we have to have this green urchin-like conversation about taxes? Because if you don't understand the system, then you will end up paying into the system more than you have to, which will cause you to end up not having more to put in store. You won't have more for kingdom purpose. You may not even be able to meet all your needs. Think about it. How many people make a lot of money, way more than enough money to pay their expenses and have some to give, but because they have such a huge tax burden, they are working a second job or looking for opportunities to create additional income. Well, you need to understand how to minimize legally your tax liability, right? So that's what this is about. So if you don't understand why we have to do this, this is why we have to do it. One, and I mean, you've got to be a good steward over what it is that you're earning. You know, wealth is a stewardship issue. I'm going to say that again for those in the back. Wealth is a stewardship issue. Meaning, if you don't manage well what you have, then guess what? You're not going to get very much more. When I was, as a single parent, living in a 2-bedroom apartment with my 2 children, and I wanted to purchase my first single-family home, I kept that apartment. You would have thought it was a mansion overlooking the San Diego Bay. You would have thought I had paid $5 million for this apartment and I owned it. It had been passed down for generations because of the value that I ascribed to something that I felt like God gave me stewardship over. Wealth is a stewardship issue. And then ultimately, guess what I was able to do? Build my home from the ground up. And, you know, I saw, I know Jim Rohn, you can tell I'm a fan. And, I literally took people to that plot of land before I built the house. And if they could not see what I was showing them, like, okay, so the garage is here. They're like, there's no garage. That's a mound of dirt. No, the garage is here. This is my room right here. If they couldn't see the vision, I didn't even talk to them about it anymore. I had to find people and surround myself with associations that were going to support what I was creating and not what I was living, if that makes sense, right? People perish for lack of a vision. Well, if you got people around you who are just killing your vision, who are stealing your vision, who are dumping water on your vision, you will also see your vision perish. So I want to congratulate you for being on this call, for listening to calls like this, because you're surrounding yourself with people who are strengthening your vision, because associations, they're everything. You hang around 9 broke people, you're bound to be the 10th. You hang around 9 wealthy people on the other side of the coin, you're also bound to be the 10th. So we're going to talk today about something I love. Now, this is a topic within the tax code that is just, I love this because it has literally saved me a lot of tax dollars and actually created some refunds for me over the years. And this is also a question that you're going to want to ask a tax preparer so that you will understand whether or not this is someone that you actually even want doing your taxes. Because if they don't know about this, then they probably, they may or may not, let me just say, because the tax laws have changed, but they should have an understanding that this even exists out there. They may or may not know about some of the other opportunities for you to minimize your tax liabilities. So most of us have children or have had children. And like Dr. Stan said, I actually have grandchildren as well. Now, when we were growing up, some of our parents, not my parents, they didn't give me an allowance. It was, I'll allow you to live in my house. How about that? However, there are some families that still give their children allowances or just give them money for whatever they perceive their needs are. Well, what if I could show you a way that rather than giving your kids money, the money which is taxed money because you earned the money, it was taxed, and then you gave it to them, what if you could give them tax-free money? What if you were able to use tax-free money to take care of some of the needs of your children, pay for cars, weddings, private school tuitions, and it'd be totally legal, 100% legal. School uniforms, school lunches, field trips, 100% legal. College, investments into their retirement accounts to build wealth for them as they grow, and it's 100% legal. Now, there are some guidelines on the investment part, and I'll share those with you, but understand in these calls early on a Tuesday morning, we're not going to get all of the details. Once the actual recordings are available in the back office. Then, we'll give you the step-by-step in terms of setting some of these things up. But for now, I want to make sure that you understand that they exist and how easy it is for you to actually take advantage of them. How do you do that? We don't give our kids allowances anymore. We hire them. Hire your children. So you're going to ask your tax preparer, can I hire my kids into my business? And if they say absolutely not, then you want to say, well, my understanding based on the tax laws is that you can. And if they don't want to do the research and find out so that you can take that tax benefit, again, you probably want to look for someone else. Because when you're a sole proprietor, hiring employees is going to, you may have a few more paperwork obligations, but if your immediate family members are those employees, you're going to get huge additional tax deductions. And actually, the paperwork obligation is minimal, okay? Because there are zero. There are no tax withholding requirements at all for employees who are your children under the age of 18. That's right. No tax withholding requirements at all for employees who are your children under the age of 18 and over the age of 6. So between 6 and 18, your children can qualify as employees of your business. Now, someone say, well, what is my 6-year-old going to do in my business? Well, my 6-year-old put labels on my brochures. She helped me hand out flyers. She helped me put my bags in the car. She helped me clean the office space that was designated in my home. These were all things that a 6-year-old can reasonably do for income. Now, why is that significant? Because the money that I paid that 6-year-old, I put it in a separate bank account. First, I paid her with a business check. Remember, we talked about not commingling any of your funds. You don't commingle your business and your personal funds. So because she's an employee of the company, I paid her with a business check. That money went into an account with her name on it. Well, she's 6 years old, so I had to be the custodian on that account, right? So now the money goes into the account, and I may give her $5 a week so she can do with it what she wanted. But guess what? The rest of that money sat there growing in an interest-bearing account. And when she had needs, guess where I paid for them from? Her account. The only guideline is that the money has to be used for that child. How many of you know that that's not difficult? Children are expensive. My kids went to private school. So that money went right into tuition. It went into books, and it went into first cars. It went into all of those situations. I had 3 daughters. There were 3 accounts out there. There were 3 separate employment groups. There were 3 separate additional tax deductions. Okay, so let's talk about how this works. I don't know about you guys, but I was flat out excited about this. And if you're on the line and you don't have children between 6 and 18, even if you're a grandparent, there's something in here for you as well. So again, there are no tax withholding requirements at all for employees who are your children between the ages of 6 and 18. So in order to avoid those taxes, though, you have to hire them and give them a W-2. Don't give them a 1099, because I've heard of people doing that, because a 1099 means they're self-employed, which means they will have to pay self-employment taxes. So you want to avoid that altogether and simply give them a W-2 at the end of the year. Now, it's really common that children are involved in our family businesses. We see children working in family businesses all the time. You walk into, restaurants and the kids are there. You walk into the cleaners, the children are there. But a lot of times, entrepreneurs, we miss out on those tax savings that are available because we just don't want to do the paperwork or we don't understand how it works. So the ways that you're paying your children, it's tax deductible to you as the employer, okay? But the income is tax-free to your child as well. So it's a win-win on both sides. I'm going to say that one more time. The income that you pay them, the wage that you pay your child is tax deductible to you, and the income is tax-free to your child. So for 2019, the tax-free limit, I hope you're sitting down, is equal to the standard deduction. Now we know for this year, the standard deduction skyrocketed. It changes every year, but it jumped to $12,200 this year. So you can pay your child up to $12,200 in 2019, and it be tax deductible to you as the employer and tax-free to your child. Can you imagine? So you've just written off $12,000 of your income. That's amazing. And even if they earn more than that $12,000, then they're only going to pay the tax rate of 10% for anything they earn more than that, not the regular tax rate. So that's still savings. Okay. Now you can increase that if you take $5,050. I think it's $5,500. I believe it is the maximum. $5,500 is the maximum. You can deposit that into an IRA, right, an individual retirement account for that child, and that increases that $12,200 by another $5,000. So now you have $17,700 that you can literally pay your child that is tax deductible to you as an employer. That's $17,700 that you're not going to have to pay taxes on next year. And if you think that was great, let's add to that you can also have that same child contribute to an IRA. Now, they are going to pay taxes. Remember I said there was an instance that we needed to discuss. They're going to pay taxes at that 10% minimum rate. But when they withdraw the money at retirement, it will not be taxed. So you're literally setting your children up for retirement, wealth building, right? And at the same time, you are creating circumstances where you're not paying taxes on some of the income into the business, yet you're still able to use that money to support taking care of your children. That is huge. That is huge. Now, there may be a local payroll tax depending on where it is in the country that you live. I know we have people on the line from all around the country, but we're talking about that federal tax position right now. That's huge. And how easy is this to do? Well, number one, all you need to do is have an EIN. You have an employer identification number. And as a business owner, you absolutely should. You should be having your income being paid more to your EIN than your Social Security number. Okay, so you need to get an EIN. It's free. You can go to irs.gov and get your employer identification number. You're going to create an employment agreement with your child. Very simple. It just says, when did they start? What are their duties? And then how much you're going to pay them and how often. Very easy. Just something to have documented so that if the question comes up, where is this tax deduction coming from? You can say, I hired my child, I hired little Johnny on this date. He dumps the trash. He handles the brochures. He does all the mail out. He stuffs envelopes, whatever little Johnny does. And this is how much I pay him, and this is when I pay him. And then you write the check from the business account, deposit it directly into little Johnny's account. And guess what else you're teaching little Johnny? You're teaching little Johnny that money doesn't just come out of the bank, that you have to put money in the bank to get money out of the bank. So we're also teaching Johnny the lessons that they're not getting taught in school anymore in terms of the basics of managing and handling money from the beginning to the end. I think it's a sad travesty that we're just simply giving these kids debit cards these days and saying, go spend, and they don't even know how the money gets in there that they're spending. Where does this money come from? They're believing that money grows on trees for real. It's counterfeit, right? So they're not even understanding the value of their money. Now you're helping little Johnny realize, okay, well, you've got $20 a month to spend. Do you really want to spend all $20 this week at the carnival, or do you want to save some and do something else later? You can, create your own lessons with these children, but we're helping them to understand the value of money. We're helping them to set up a money plan. I know my kids knew 10% tithe. I even paid them when I gave them their money, the money that they could spend. I paid them in a way that they could pull their 10% off the top. So if it was $10, they got a 5 and 5 1, so they could take that dollar and put it directly in the offering, along in the tithe envelope, along with $1 for their offering. So they knew from the beginning, you live off of 70% of what you earn. Tithe, offering, savings, and then whatever the rest, okay? You're also going to complete the I-9, because this is something that you would do with any employee. You're going to do the same thing with your kids. It's really simple. You're going to have already talked about in the letter what type of work it is. So it's got to be ordinary, necessary work. It's not going to be, something, they're basket weaving in your direct sales business. That doesn't, unless it's a direct basket weaving company, that doesn't make any sense. So it's got to be direct and necessary for the type of business that you're in, and it cannot be an ordinary household chore. That's the difference. That's how they tell the difference in terms of whether you're just using the system or it's actually been working in your business. You know how you have to actually show a profit in business? It's got to be you are working towards a profit at least, right? You're not just saying that you're in business and it's your hobby. It's the same thing. You're not just saying your child works for you. They're not. You're teaching them. They're working, and it makes sense. You're going to have the child document the services that they're performing. Have them just keep a log. A timesheet is the best way to do that. That's what we did. Make sure it's a reasonable wage level. Don't pay them $20,000 a year for dumping trash, right? Make sure that it's reasonable for their age. Consistent, timely payments. Document that they were paid, and then make sure you file that W-2 at the end of the year. Anyone between any of your children that are dependents on your tax return from the age of 6 to 18, you can actually take these benefits for, these tax deductions for. Now, somebody is saying, oh, child labor laws. I've heard that too. Well, let's look at what the child labor law actually says. The whole purpose of that child labor law is to keep children safe in a working environment. Now, how much more safe can your children be than working with their parents, right? So if they're working with their parents and in their own home, they're presumed safe based on the child labor law. So it doesn't even apply. It doesn't apply there. Now, if your children are under 18, we've talked about how that works. So what if they're over 18? Well, the IRS even makes a provision for your children between the ages of 18 and 24. They can also qualify for the exclusion if they're full-time students, meaning that they are in school at least 5 months during the tax year. Now, they are going to have to pay the payroll tax, that withholding, but, when they do their tax return separate from yours, as long as they're still dependent on your return, they typically get the majority of whatever they've paid in back, typically speaking. But you don't have to pay any Social Security or Medicare taxes for them. And you can still take a deduction for whatever it is that you pay them. So it's still a win-win. It's still a great situation there. Same rules, have that written employment agreement on file, okay? Now, of course, you want to check with your personal business tax advisor to make sure that all your documentation is in place and that you're in compliance with the IRS rules. We're on these conversations, we're talking about the possibilities. Everybody's situation is different, okay? And let's look at, I want to talk about these grandkids real quickly, though. In terms of the grandchildren, if your grandchildren, you can do the same thing with your grandchildren, and the only difference is you're still going to pay those taxes. You'll pay the taxes as the employer, I'm sorry. You'll pay the taxes as the employer. But for your grandchildren, they're not going to have to pay any taxes on the income up to that $12,200. So as a grandparent, you can use the same tax strategy, but you will be required to withhold FICA, the payroll taxes, and all those kinds of things. But the income to your grandchild is tax-free up to that $12,000. So it's still a way for you to put extra money into your children's household. I don't know if you got kids like mine. Like, I have one daughter. She does not ask for anything. She doesn't want anything. She's making her own way, doing her own thing. So one way to be a blessing to her is to set something up so that I can be a blessing to the grandkids, because she can't control that part. Okay? So as a grandparent, you can still take advantage of this tax strategy, which is huge. So let's look at who qualifies and who cannot qualify. If you're a sole proprietor, you can qualify. You can take advantage of this strategy. If you are a sole member of an LLC, right? Because remember, the law changed so that they're treating sole members of an LLC as a sole proprietorship. You file a Schedule C, then you can take advantage of this. If you are a husband and a wife partnership, you can actually take advantage of this as well, okay? So what we do for our clients is we help them set up a work log, help them set up all of these documents so that they are in compliance with the law, so that they can actually take advantage of this strategy. Now, literally, this is huge, because let's look at what it could mean in dollars. Like, okay, this is what it does, this is how it works, but let's look at what it could mean to you. So at $12,200 a year, that's $240 a week based on a 50-week year, right? Now, that's with 2 weeks vacation. So now you've got, I never got a $240 a week allowance, but now your child is getting $240 a week as wages. So depending on the age of your child, that could be a lot of money. It could definitely sometimes it could be gas money, or it could be enough money for all of the elementary school fees for oh my gosh, their entire elementary school career. But it's just important, just like we continue to say this entire conversation, record keeping, record keeping, record keeping. Make sure you deposit all their paychecks into their account. Make sure they have a separate account. You have to be the custodian on it, of course, if they're underage. That's based on the banking laws, but make sure that they have their name is on it and it's separate from your business account that you're paying them out of. Make sure it's interest bearing so that they can continue to, create money on it, because that is going to grow interest at a minimal tax rate, okay? And again, you're going to be helping them figure out how that whole banking system works. This is so, so exciting. I don't know. I hope you guys are getting this. Now, I want to talk, I don't know if we have time to do this yet. I guess we'll probably stop, but next week, what we want to talk about is how to deduct all of your healthcare expenses for all the members of your family. 100% legal, 100% tax deductible. I mean, it's so exciting, but I don't want to get into it and not have time to go all the way through it. So I don't know, Dr. Stan, if you want to, I'm just going to go ahead and turn the call back to you. But yes, we can hire our kids. No longer do we have to give them allowances, and it's 100% legal and tax deductible.
Wow. I told y'all, she ain't playing. Do you understand? I keep telling y'all, sometimes you need to call. Other times the call needs you. And this day, you needed this call. Wasn't that just incredible when you think about, and I just can't even hardly wait till next week, because if I'm understanding the way I think I'm understanding, then that's, oh my goodness, you are in the right place at the right time. I trust you got the right frame of mind. And so again, thank you, Dr. Katrina Ferguson. Again, what a wealth of information. And folks, this is from one of your team leaders, by the way. I mean, this is not some outside source. She's one of the family. By the way, I had her on the phone. I was on the phone yesterday with Mr. Tom Green and the CTO, and Tom said, man, I've got to thank you for introducing me to Dr. Ferguson. I've got to call her back. I've got some situations and the business thing I want to set up. I want to get hire her to do that. And so anyway, so that's the quality that she has. So folks, this was incredible. So again, thank you, Dr. Ferguson. Powerful, powerful, powerful.